rankings. Okay, last game before we wrap it up. Alabama, Florida. I know you watched that game.
I did. I was able to see this game.
I sat down and watched that whole game. Let me ask you this question. Like, I know somebody that listens that's a big Alabama fan.
Okay.
He's going to be mad at me tomorrow after he listens to the episode because of the blasphemy that's coming out of my mouth. Jimmy?
Mm-hmm.
Is Bama mortal now? Did we just find out that Alabama's mortal?
Yes. Because
Florida, I mean, if they could, that 2-point conversion at the end of the game, if they would have got that, it's a tie game. We're going into overtime. Alabama looked kind of mortal against them at the end. It was like Alabama jumped out, and then they just let them chip away. You know what makes me think about, even though that game wasn't as close as the box score showed, was Alabama OU in the playoff with Kyler Murray at quarterback.
Uh-huh.
The offense failed OU that game because the defense did its job. The defense tried, but the offense kept giving the ball back. And then the offense started getting going, and they started to chip away at that lead, but it was, of course, too late. Like, it was the one problem we saw with OU is that come the third quarter, the offense randomly starts to play really good, and all of a sudden they start scoring a lot, and the defense starts shutting down everything. They keep scoring, and more so because Alabama didn't put their foot on the gas. You know, they might have, and they just couldn't win. Alabama let Florida come all the way back. I did not expect Florida to. Alabama was a 14-point favorite in this game. What happened? What happened?
You know, when I look at this Alabama team, and you know, it's funny. I hate to sound like a broken record, but what I was just saying about OU, I think you might be able to say about this Alabama team that there is no player right now that puts fear into the heart of the opposition.
Yeah, I can see that.
That doesn't scare anybody. Actually, and it's kind of the reverse with OU. Okay, so there's no fear and intimidation, which the Alabama brand itself and Nick Saban on the sidelines is usually enough.
Yep.
But what I think Florida figured out is that they could be just as physical as this team. That they're
just as human as we are.
They bleed.
They bleed.
Yes,
they bleed
exactly.
like us.
Yeah. So when you look at the run game, and this you never see this in an Alabama game, Alabama averaged 3.3 yards a carry, 91 total rushing yards in this game. Florida, 5.7 yards a carry, 245 rushing yards.
On the ground.
Nobody does that to Alabama.
Ever. They literally just ran. It felt like they could just do what they wanted to on the run game. And it was one of those that it's smash mouth football. And that hurts against a team like Alabama where you're basically keeping them off the field. I mean, time of possession was close, 31-28. But it felt like Florida always had the ball.
I mean, and Florida's a good team, right? They're ranked number 11, so they're supposed to be a very good team if you go by the rankings.
They're ranked a little bit higher, but yeah, they're ranked number 11 now, in which I think they gave them some grace because their first loss at home versus the number one team in the country.
But you know what, Jay? What this sets up for with college football, if we start to see some more games like this from Alabama or more games like this from OU, what it shows you is that this year might be a bit more wide open than people think, because after this week, who can legitimately say that team, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is the best team in college football? Now, I know people will still pick Alabama. They're still going to be number one in the rankings. Of course. But as far as what people see, what they feel, normally you feel it when you know Alabama's number one. This is not going to be the case after week 3. So this may be the year where you see some type of team getting into the playoff and potentially winning, or at least getting to the championship game that we're not used to seeing there.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that Alabama's going to have a nice little road in front of them. They got Southern Miss, which isn't going to be anything of anything.
They always do this.
They got Ole Miss at home, and then they travel to A&M. Now, I mentioned this in the preview that I thought that 3 teams had a chance to knock them off this year. Miami, which showed us no. Florida had it, but they just couldn't finalize it. A&M on the road. That probably will be the toughest game they play this season outside of the Iron Bowl against Auburn that closed the season out.
Right.
We might see that one-loss Alabama team this year. And I think, to be honest, I think it might be because of Bryce Young. I think that he did well in the game. Like, he had no turnovers. I mean, he looked like a solid quarterback, but at the same time, 243
touchdowns.
Yeah. Which, I mean, 243 touchdowns. That's pretty good, right? You would think.
I just saying, but
there's something about it.
Something was missing.
Yeah, there was something missing. There was something missing to that stat line. Either it's the wide receivers just could not get separation, and they're not as good as the Waddles and the Smiths, who won the Heisman, so I can totally understand them not being as good. But it did not feel the same. And so as Saban mentioned, they have to avoid being ordinary. And I think right now they're ordinary. Eventually they'll get past it, but right now they're ordinary.
True.